Hello, I'm Shizuka Voidguard, and welcome back to the camp, or the house, or oh, what you guys like to call it for now. It's just a temporary camp, just out in the woods. Alright, so today we are actually looking at. Is I can't tell which one's which. Yeah, no, yeah, no, yeah. I'm just gonna say yes. Um, that's just me. Kind of scoot on down. Oh, here's you're my little companion. I'm not rich enough for that yet, so we're gonna. Oh yeah, yes, I got my stuff. Yeah, got my stuff. All right. So today, actually, I'm just gonna kind of hide them for a sec because I don't wanna have a little bit of thing down there. Distractions. So we are watching, and I was just seeing this when I was just doom scrolling. Was men are slowly giving up and nobody cares. So let's see if they are saying if it's right or not as a perspective of a man. So we are gonna actually watch it.
Increasingly, more and more men are giving up on
Exactly. I can just say right now, yes, I literally have.
relationships, careers, and society as a whole.
We are witnessing the first stage of civilization. Yeah.
Resentment is growing, unemployment is becoming rampant, and keeping your head above water seems almost impossible for many men today.
Yes, it actually really is. Even in the VTubing industry, I try to actually join an agency, and half of them's like, "Sorry, we can't take you because we only accept women." So yeah, that's the sad truth actually, and yeah.
This is leading to more men than ever.
Millions of men have dropped out of workforce, leaving companies struggle to fill jobs. It's a matter of our national identity. So yeah, there's a lot of people that actually do take advantage of the system, but there's also many guys who don't. That either from disable dis dis disabilities or lack of motivation because we don't for I'm gonna say it for over half the men who actually are or aren't in relationships, they never get flowers until their grave, like their actual funeral. So yeah, that's like a literal thing is a motivation that we do not have. That we lose it.
Dropping out of society entirely. And it's not just that, men are becoming infantilized.
Yeah, we um wow, my eye is really twitching out. um yeah, dating is something. Is a it's not a struggle for everybody, but for the right person and for one of the toxic relationships, yes, it very much is.
With terms like adulting now becoming
So this is also where a lot of people don't know what to do. So a lot of people mainly get thrown out half the time, and they have to just turn to videos and uh, articles to learn how to actually be an adult.
normal, it's clear that something ugly is happening that needs to be addressed.
Okay, I'm gonna just like. There's nothing I really have to say. I'm just gonna say isn't that Loki? I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
We live in such a strained, unnatural environment that is bound to start to wear on society, but men in particular are battling to keep up and are slowly giving up.
I finally admit it. I'm. So yeah, yeah, but before VTubing, yeah, yes, this was me. This pretty much. I was very deep down.
Giving up on dreams, giving up on
giving up on dreams. They say don't give up on your dreams. And I had to give up on a lot of my dreams. I'm going to say that right now. But the only thing that I didn't give on was VTubing. So I'm going to go no matter if no one watches me or not. Guess what? Even when I'm gone, they're still going to be here. Immortalized in the internet web searches.
Trying and giving up and doing anything constructive. And for a large part,
Yeah. Well, that's a lack of motivation. So we lose that easily. Rising numbers of men don't want to work. It's not we. Well, there's a lot of people that don't want to work. They just want to leech off people that actually do want to work.
it's really not that.
Men's falling labor force participation generations. Yeah, so the younger generations really don't want to. I remember that someone actually doesn't want, like, someone I dated doesn't want to, like, even work because one of their parents doesn't work while the other one works, and then they're basically in credit card debt. Yeah, that, and it's same. No, yeah, the same generation I am, which I think it's Gen Z. No, not Gen Z. Yeah, it's probably somewhere in the beginning of Gen Z. I have no clue.
Faults, as this trend isn't just a personal.
I didn't even see what that, but it said something if your husband is like a child. Well, so we can't indulge our childish selves. We have to really lift everything. We have to be that strong masculine guy that has to mow our lawns, has to do everything with a snap of a finger, be able to lift a couch with one arm. Um, I know who I'm talking about, and I'm not gonna name no names. But for this, he's now gonna be known as Hat Guy. Hat Guy lifted that couch. So, yeah, Hat Guy, you know who I'm talking. If you see this, it's you. I know who you are.
Some struggle, but a societal issue.
A societal issue, yeah. So why is men still get more promotions than women? Well, on your resume, you have to mainly fill out if you're the head of the house, and you'd still get more money than most. Women are better employees than men. So, well, they don't lose concentration as much as we do. Like they're focused, but we're like, oh, we like this. We're gonna do this instead.
That we must urgently address.
All right. Women are more effective than men in all leadership measures. Well, I'm not gonna point no fingers at anything, but I want to say half and half. It's not. That's not really true. That's not true. Women work harder and more intensely than men study. So do you now with the studies? Do they just study one group or multiple? Because yeah, and um, I'm just baffled by this. We're only 45 seconds into this, and I'm just baffled. Women are more productive than men according to new research. That mainly goes along the lines I said, that we don't we don't keep concentration as much. We need more motivation, but we don't have that.
So why is this happening? And why has it gotten so bad in 2024?
Social media.
On the surface, it's a long and complicated story. Life has never been simple for any human, and objectively speaking, for men in the West today, it's never been better. We have
Life is actually better than it ever has been for humans. We're just swayed by a prism that we don't know. I'm not gonna say it's it's never. I would say it's been better.
have all the technology we need, food delivered to your door with the tap of a finger, dating readily available to anyone with a simple swipe, any products, items, or experiences that you want.
Now, so the problem with that is you need money, but this dating app. I think I tried it once. It didn't work. I know my sister. I don't know what to call her right now. Mm, Let me know in the comments what we should call my sister and my brother on for this.
Want can be had with the tap of your phone. But over time, all of these comforts of life destroys the importance and necessity of struggle, without any value placed on higher goals.
Men don't care about higher goals anymore. Yes and no. Some do, some don't.
Where there just is no reason to care, means there's no reason for people to properly live.
Not Reddit. Oh no, not Reddit. Oh, I never actually. That's probably one of the apps I would probably never, or websites I would never really use. Oh, um. Well, now I'm just looking at this. It looks like. Okay, I'm just gonna. I'll address the something from stream after this. Um, I want to die, but I'm not suicidal. Okay. This, yes. I have completely felt this. But then I got in VTube. I seen VTube, and boom, changed me. I don't want to die. I just don't want to exist. Yes, true. Years upon years ago. Yes. Actually, I don't even know how old I was. 12 or 14, I think. Yeah, 12 to. Oh no. 10 to 14, maybe. Just gonna say somewhere between those lines is when I actually felt exactly like this. I'm so unattractive that I want to kill my. Yeah. Yeah. Pretty much yes. All their responses they're saying is all true. Is very true.
Will have the will to achieve greatness, which is probably why 40% of young men aged 18 to 45 meet the criteria for depression, and 49%
18. Is there like a lower than 18 in there? 18, 23.
of 18 to 23-year-olds have had a thought of passing themselves in the past 2 weeks alone. And we're seeing the symptoms of this problem everywhere. The sapping away of our vision and ambition permeates in all
Without any fear for the future, boys. Going up there.
Aspects of modern society today. Our culture, architecture, relationships, bodies, and minds. Past civilizations before us have always placed their emphasis on beauty, wisdom, and logic for all the population to see, with great town squares, bustling with art, life, and community. These things were placed above all.
And people think that we can still do these nowadays, but we don't. We really can't.
All else. themselves as the bedrock of their societies, laying out a code of honor and struggle in its people to achieve greatness. Comforts were shown in art and culture, but as an aspiration for achieving something great, for following your mastery. But today our cities are mostly devoid of all of this character, and instead they're marked out by the most cost-efficient, bland and sterile designs to facilitate a simpler self-motivated purpose.
Because of how much the country is in debt. I'm gonna just probably say that as pretty much how much the entire country's in debt right now.
It's why people flock all over the world to a handful of remaining cities that retain their centuries-old charm to feel and experience the character of bygone societies that were motivated by higher ideals. Ideals greater than our modern two-dimensional ways of thinking. With a prioritization of comfort, lust and opulence, and flashy materialism over individual excellence and greater community, we're now reeling in the aftermath, becoming instead a generation of mandated mediocrity. And does this explain why men today seem to struggle more than ever while seemingly having more than ever? America in particular is not actually in a recession. In fact, on paper, the economy looks like the best it's been in a while. Unemployment has dropped, GDP is up, but what the people are actually experiencing is a completely different story. We can see this in a study by the University of Michigan on consumer sentiments, which gathers data based on how consumers feel about the current state of finances. In 2022, it dropped to an all-time low. Prices...
Pretty sure that was during COVID, or like close to the end of COVID. That was when COVID hit. That was rough.
Of our average daily needs like gas and food have increased in unbearable percentages.
Oh,
in contrast, salary increases do not match, putting a high strain on budgets.
Inflation is showing no...
Also, college, the only reason I would want to originally do go to college, but I didn't, is because of how much it actually cost, and they never lowered their prices for the inflation. They only just kept it the same. And it's also the way how like the jobs you get after don't really pay. Well, they pay good, but it's just seems like it takes more out just to retire, less than if you actually don't.
Signs of slowing down as Americans pay over $1,000 a month more on the same essentials we were buying 3 years ago. Nothing's changed but price. The latest consumer price index for March showing basic necessities like our food, housing, and gas are all continuing to cripple Americans' wallets with higher prices.
Our wages are actually down against inflation since Biden took office. So not only are prices soaring, but our wages, at least if you measure hourly wages, are not keeping up at all.
Keeping your head above water has become the new normal instead of owning a home with a white picket fence. The rich are becoming richer and the poor are becoming poorer, with the middle class disintegrating completely. All the knowledge of the past of just going to college, getting a job, and buying a home immediately is just complete.
That's what I'm saying. Because they're taking the more advantage of their stuff to get more bucks rather than actually looking at the lower. Because once the middle is gone, there's only going to be 2 sections, not like many sections of middle class, middle lower, middle higher. No, there's just only going to be 2 classes, literally high and poor. So they're just trying to make more so they can buy these cars or something.
Clearly irrelevant for anyone working and living in 2024. The universities have skyrocketed in prices to absurd levels.
Exactly.
The housing market is in a complete giant bubble. Everyone's sending out job applications more and more, all while using these automated testing systems, applying up to 100 jobs a day and still not getting anywhere. All the while major companies repeatedly tell us that they can't find any workers for their companies. And the results of this are clear. People are drifting towards more unfulfilling jobs, or just not even having a job at all.
So the jobs are mainly picky half the time. The ones I've tried to go is they basically want to get the most money out of someone as possible. So why are so many men in the US have stopped working? They don't meet the necessary goals to be able to do that. I'm very, very sure of.
while the rich buy up resources, real estate, and everything that used to be the cornerstones of the middle class that is now just an investment hidden through an offshore bank account for some giant investment fund.
Basically, what they want to do is create a nation of renters. BlackRock coming in and giving them more money than the house is worth.
How much more do they give them?
They can give them, 30% above.
Really?
Which is money.
And then they just lease those homes out.
And they lease them out. It's part of this idea that home ownership and automobile ownership and all of these things, these legacy systems that people want to get rid of. And they go, rent a house, use Uber, Lyft, whatever. You don't need to own. What does owning do for you? That's that famous article, you'll own nothing and be happy.
Right.
And because of this, all saving plans for regular people are halted because living paycheck to paycheck means there just isn't enough for a savings plan. And whilst there is still some hope to dig your way out, for most this does begin a damaged path. People end up working in a job that's not in their field, something that they hate to do every day, and eliminates the experience they need for the job in their field. And so even the experience they are getting is just completely useless for getting back on track. In effect, their now entry-level position is further deviating them from becoming lawyers, psychologists, or whichever career path they studied for. And if the middle class is experiencing this, then the lower earners are feeling this even more. The jobs they once had a chance of landing now go to the middle class, while they get hit a bump lower, which is putting millions of people in dire straits. They face working twice as hard for minimum wage, juggling between jobs, partaking in the gig economy with absolutely no security, all with an extreme pressure to keep up with daily expenses in a completely overpriced megacity. And the truth is, both middle and lower earners are now taking a huge hit to their egos. They feel disrespected through no fault of their own, as no man wants to feel like a failure. They don't want to feel like they're not providing or on their destiny. Imagine
And quite a bit of them actually do work themselves to death, is because of they don't want to feel like they are trying to give up on their family.
In the hours and effort to get a degree and then having to take a job that's not even within the field you studied for. Well, this is just regular life for most people nowadays. It's making men feel incredibly depressed and isolated. They watch all this stuff on social media, they see people flexing the Rolexes on their Instagram stories. Meanwhile, they're struggling to survive, living a life they absolutely hate. And when friends and family ask about it, they suffer the humiliation of explaining why they had to take what was available. Even though it isn't humiliating at all, and they're doing what they can to survive, it definitely takes a huge effect on their mental health. Especially as it wasn't that long ago, where it was actually normal to enter the workforce with a mentor who would show you the ropes and encourage you and push you to learn more. Starting at the bottom didn't seem so bad because there was an opportunity to grow and reap more rewards, but this imperative step is slowly slipping away. Companies of prestige have forgotten the generation with no experience, and for many companies, this is what they want. This is actually the ideal scenario, where they have people so desperate, so in need of experience, that they can treat their workers like absolute trash. Since the 1980s, testosterone levels have dropped more than 50%, and yet we're told to ignore it. Why? Because there's a coordinated effort to suppress masculinity and turn men into something they were never meant to be. This decline is no accident. We're constantly exposed to harmful chemicals in our food and everyday products, bombarded with estrogenic chemicals from plastics, junk food, and sedentary lifestyles, which is why testosterone levels have been declining for decades, with a 17% drop among 60-year-olds in 2004 compared to 1987. Sperm count and strength in men are also decreasing exponentially, with a 32.5% decrease in mean sperm concentration in the last 50 years. But here's the good news. There are ways to fight back. And one of the most effective solutions that I found is our sponsor Black Forest's Testosterone with Tongkat Ali. This supplement is packed with two of the most powerful natural testosterone boosters available. Testosterone is a natural anabolic compound that helps increase muscle growth, boost recovery, and support higher testosterone levels. Tongkat Ali, used for centuries, helps raise testosterone, reduce stress, and improve overall vitality. I've been using Black Forest's Testosterone and Tongkat Ali, and I've noticed a huge improvement in my energy, strength, and focus. It's like getting back the edge that modern life was just draining away. Right now, Black Forest is offering a buy two, get one free deal on this limited edition product, and once it's gone for good. I can personally vouch for its effectiveness. It's had a huge difference in my energy levels, strength, sleep, and overall well-being. And by supporting our sponsors, you also support us directly. So hurry and take advantage of this amazing 48-hour promo and support me alongside this amazing brand using the link in the description below.
48.
The cost of having a job also plays a part in stripping them of their dignity. Transport costs to their job, depending on the amount, could take a huge chunk of their salary, so that at the end of the day, they can only pay for rent or food and not both. A government grant could replace their salaries, and they earn more or less the same amount.
What's also helping to pay the bills is, as I said, the US government.
Yeah. Yeah, the government did kind of step in a bit.
In particular, our disability programs for people who are unable to work. Those programs seem to have morphed away from their original humane intention and now seem to provide an alternative income source to regular employment for several millions, for millions and millions of these guys.
If a job doesn't support your basic needs of a home, food, and transport, it wears thin in justifying the effort for this job, especially if you're not getting any experience. And in most cases, if you go into the gig economy, absolutely no security either. All for minimum wage. There's even a new term called quietly quitting, where you do the bare minimum of your job to the point that you're almost rendered useless and you get fired or simply quit. The fact that this term even exists shows that attention is desperately needed to solve this problem. And while this is happening, it's because
yeah, so basically, I remember at my last job, there was this dude that I'm like, because I was always the fastest worker. They're like, oh, I was like, what you guys doing? He's like, and then he's like, send out talking. I'm like, you're not even on break. He's like, nah, we can just push product back. We already did the goal for today. Like, he was 25, and I'm gonna say, I'm not gonna say my actual age, but I was quite younger than him, and I was like, you're here for a job, and then that dude ended up somewhat quitting. But yeah, no one liked him because he only did the bare minimum. They didn't. They were actually finding people that wanted to actually do more work than they were asking.
Becoming more and more common for both partners in a household to be living the same life, or even with most males' partners actually being the breadwinner. And whilst this isn't necessarily a problem at all, it is leading to some weird modern problems in the household. Men with families are actually switching their roles with their wives, except they're not actually doing what their wives would do if they were to stay at home.
When you look at what I guess in Britain is called NEET, N-E-E-T, do you say that also in Australia? Neither employed nor in education or training. When you look at that huge group of well over 6 million prime age men, the story they're telling about their lives is really pretty devastating. It's pretty distressing. They basically don't do civil society. There's almost no worship, almost no volunteering, almost no charitable work. They've got a lot of time on their hands, but they report doing strangely little help around the home or help with other people at home.
Because of the situation, some men may feel a sense of worthlessness and resentment. Some men might take an hour to clean up the house and fetch the kids, but the rest of the day they sleep or play games. In some cases, the wives work and then come home to finish the chores their husbands were meant to do but didn't. And whilst this might cause huge marriage problems, it still feels better off to the husbands. If asked what they do for a living, saying they're on a break or working on a project beats the humiliation of saying they work in McDonald's with a useless degree on their back. Men without families have nothing to lose, so they stop working because no woman would even want them anyway. They can't afford to date, they can't afford a family, and since their own families are supportive, it somehow justifies them giving up and staying at home, rather than facing these societal problems head on. With prices rising, getting hired becoming harder and harder by the day, and inequality becoming rampant within society, most men are just deciding to give up, because instead of facing the hardships of having a job, it just seems so much easier to escape, whether it be terminally being online, playing video games all day, or hiding behind doing chores at home to show they still have a purpose and are doing their best. The point being that for many men in 2024, if they're gonna be disrespected and feel worthless, they may as well choose the easy way out than a battle. If respect had a currency on how it would affect your life directly, you would see a different picture. A man with a job with high pressure, long hours, and doing something that makes him feel degraded would be worth say $100, but staying at home, playing games, and escaping, all while being with the people he loves, is probably worth $200 because of how it affects him. This explains why more and more men are deciding to drop out of society rather than face it head on, as it just seems to be the easier path. If it's a choice between two paths, one that offers little satisfaction while the other provides comfort, it's easy to see why men are going this route. But the thing is, this is a terrible mistake. And this is creating problems that we've never seen before. If there is no emphasis or any facilitation of the need to aspire to something greater and the game seems rigged to most who are playing it, it's hardly a surprise record numbers of men are dropping out and giving up on the game entirely. The problem is that there's a huge group of men, roughly about 7 million in America between the ages of 25 and 55, who are not working and are actively not looking for work. Now, COVID certainly had a hand in accelerating these figures. One question posed to these dropouts was how many of these men were on pain medication, and almost half of these men admitted to taking pain medication daily. And aside from those who desperately need it, these figures could indicate that men are aimlessly numbing themselves to their new reality. And this is great for society, as people don't have to deal with this huge problem. And what's even more shocking is that 40% of these men do have some kind of degree.
What sort of men are in this group? Demographically, education, family structure, ethnicity, who makes up this group?
Surprisingly large, we say, representation of guys with college or even college degrees. 40% of this group has at least some college, and as I recall, about a fifth or a sixth are college grads.
The decision to be in this state is closely related to changing times.
It's also how much they're in debt.
We've already discussed the effects of brain rot in another upload, which disabled problem solving in Generation Z and has already presented problems in finding jobs. They are quick to quit at the first difficult task and move on to find something else, but what happens when options run dry and they find themselves simply stuck in limbo? Giving up seems to be the next step, and accepting that is easy when they're discouraged by the situation. Working off of surveys, the data compiled indicates that these men are not only not working, but they're cutting themselves off from their communities, or there's no incentivization for them to even have any community in the first place. They're hiding out because going out would mean meeting new people who might oppose their lifestyles. It makes it uncomfortable. Why leave when you can just aimlessly watch brain rot content and numb yourself with weed or pain medication and stay inside, in the warm comfort of home? And any sexual needs you have can be satisfied with pixels on a screen. This lifestyle is increasingly becoming more and more normal for men in the West. But what's important to note is that men don't want to be this way. It's a horrible lifestyle, it's depressing, it's atomizing. What this really is just a coping mechanism or a form of self-defense against a society that's becoming increasingly hostile to these men. Up until recently, the problem has been invisible. These figures weren't shown in any statistics or surveys because they slipped through the cracks until very recently. So why did they slip through the cracks? Well, it's easy to see. They simply don't fit the victim criteria. Some have degrees, they're in the prime of their lives, and it was their choice to quit.
To overcome disadvantage, men are often expected to just shape up by themselves for a group that can focus on fault on addressing. It is surprisingly acceptable for those on the left to victim blame men who are struggling themselves, so we just let men off the hook. I'm gonna just say this now. This doesn't feel like a male journalist, because it more or less is looking like they're trying to make us the bad guys, while the girls are doing more.
It's easily overlooked and only comes to light as the numbers rise. Nicholas Upstart wrote a book called Men Without Work and has since exposed and addressed the problems in his book. He says he is trained to look for hidden in plain sight problems, which is how he stumbled upon this issue. You see, these men are not causing trouble, at least for now, and they don't seem to be drawing any attention to themselves. On the contrary, they keep to themselves. So surveys and statistics just don't include them at all. They don't even register on the scale, and people in society think this is a joke issue. And it's also reasonable to conclude that some of these men may work, but in the underground economy. Work like formal cash jobs, or even shady legal ways of making money. But of course, this is just a minor portion of these men. We need to address the problem head on. How is the situation getting this bad? These men have completely lost their purpose in life. All of their duty, their hopes, their responsibilities, their own dignity and value. It's being completely decimated at the moment. And we're seeing this with the form of radicalization online. Growing hatred and division, and a general apathy towards society as a whole. And the longer this is ignored, the harder it's going to be addressed down the line. More men today than ever feel disconnected, disillusioned, and left behind by a world that seems increasingly indifferent to their struggles. While GDP numbers and employment stats may sound like an easy, good solution on paper, especially to government bureaucracies, it will never really fix the reality of the situation for normal people. The real challenge we face today in the West is to find purpose and meaning again, to have any reason to even want to participate and achieve greatness in society. We should focus on creating environments where people can thrive, where beauty, philosophy, and higher noble pursuits are actively encouraged by the cities and countries that we inhabit, which would give millions of men a reason to care again.
Yeah, so basically, yep, that's out of what they actually were saying. Oh, yeah, it's just that in just a second. Yeah, it was basically, yes, it was exactly how they were saying is lack of motivation. Well, not really lack of motivation, but the yeah, we're just trying to find a purpose. I'm pretty sure. Yes, yes, yes. All right, now time to get to these app because I've been always keep seeing these. So I think there's an issue with the audio because I couldn't hear anything on Max. Hmm. I'll check in the recording, but I know sometimes you have to turn your ringer off if you have an iPhone. That's probably why it said 2 and then dropped back down to 1, then 2. It might be the ringer if you have an iPhone. And this one is best viewers on remove their space. Some dude trying to promote something. Yeah, well, that's pretty much what happens with small VTubers nowadays. That's why I became a VTuber, not a streamer, because I think I did try to. Originally, I did try to not really stream, but I know someone that did stream. He had to stop, but I know he actually. Now I'm curious. Did he have a decent type of follower group? Follow channels. Doesn't say when he was online last. 159 follows, and he was a not IRL streamer, but streamer that played games. So yeah, that's basically of how. Yeah, so I think he'd been doing this for years, so like even way before TikTok. So I will check the audio out in just a couple of minutes, and on the comments I will actually type out if it is, but I'll check see if something is wrong. But thank you for watching the video, and make sure after every time it rains, so I don't have to clean up a mess, always wash and dry your paws before coming back into the house, because there was a lot of prints. I mean, a lot. Like, I mean, a lot. Like, incredibly. Alright, well, bye-bye.